Let your video play through here once so you can see what's happening. All right, so we take you back to the beginning. We do a real good job with our weight starting back, able to get this nice high leg lift, and we'll be able to notice here with this front hip, we're already starting to gain some ground. So we're getting good momentum going towards the plate and down that mound. Okay, that's exactly what we're looking for, which now sets us up to be able to get this out of our way, to be able to start to drive with that lower half. But if we watch this back leg here and the movements that it's going to do leading up to this front foot here getting into contact with the ground. Once this foot hits the ground, we call that front foot strike. All right, your front foot is striking the ground, so we call it front foot strike. Once your front foot gets in the ground in a front foot strike, whatever power your lower body has created by driving you away from this rubber and rotating yourself, both of those energies going to the target and rotating to the target, if done with the lower half before the front foot hits the ground, all of that drive and rotation from the lower half can get sent up to the upper half. So the upper half can rotate and get out in front faster and with less stress than it could if the lower body does not do what it needs to do, and then the upper body needs to do everything it needs to do on its own. Okay? So as we watch this back hip, back knee, back foot, we need to see it driving and rotating all before this front foot hits the ground. So if we go through here nice and slow, we can see that this back knee is kind of just what we call collapsing in. It's just collapsing down, 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 down. Okay? And now it's collapsed so far in that it's very difficult for us to rotate now because that knee is bent inwards and we need to rotate it inwards. So we put it in a position to make it very difficult to rotate because now we start to rotate, but that foot is now into front foot strike. And we can see that this backside foot here has begun to drive, but it has not yet begun to rotate until now. And we notice that once this foot gets on the ground, we can't go any further. But when this back foot drives and rotates, see how it wants to go further up? This backside wants to keep going, but it can't keep going because this foot's in the ground. But if we say that this front leg right now doesn't exist, and we just watch the back leg does all the movements we want it to do to here, but we notice how long this front foot has been in the ground while we were doing that. Foot's in the ground, now we do that backside movement. Foot's in the ground, now we do our backside rotation. Foot's in the ground, now we do that backside rotation. Okay, and now that this front foot's in the ground, boom, and this backside has not rotated yet, that means every time this shoulder rotates forward, it's going to be pulling this back knee, back foot, and back hip forward. So as we watch, every time this shoulder rotates, the hip and the knee and the foot are rotating with it. So if everything's rotating at the same time, that's not very powerful. We're throwing with mostly our upper body here. Okay. So if we could get this back leg to do all of this prior to this foot hitting the ground, we would be exactly where we need to be. So I'm going to pull up some younger guys here that we can compare you to. And let's just watch what this back leg does here. Notice how this back knee has been trying to stay back, 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 and how it's not going inwards. Okay, so let's watch here. And watch your back knee go in, versus his back knee trying to stay above that foot, trying to stay above the foot, and now, and it's time to rotate, boom. Watch how when he gets in that front foot strike, the position his lower body's in, compared to the position your lower body's in when you get the front foot strike. Okay? His hips are able to get more rotated. Why are hips more rotated? Because his backside is more rotated. Your backside doesn't get to what his backside looks like until we get to here. All right? Now you guys look a little bit more, Now you guys look a little bit more similar on that backside. Okay? But we can notice how your arm now is already starting to rotate. Your shoulders are already starting to open because of the fact that that foot has been on the ground and everything's been rotating together, versus just the lower half rotating here. Just the lower half rotating here. So that when his foot gets in the foot strike, belt's all the way there, kneecap is facing the ground on this stripe, and the back foot is driven through the big toe, and it's rotating. When you get the foot strike, this back knee is angling out towards us a little bit, and the back foot is not rotated at all. So that means your hips can't be rotated as much as they are here. So again, you get into this position, but it takes your chest to rotate to get that lower body in the same position that is over here. So that means now your shoulders have been rotating the entire body, which means it has to go slower and work harder, versus just the upper body. Versus getting into foot strike, and now it's just the upper body going out in front. Versus you getting this foot down early. Now the shoulders got to peel out. You're peeling that front shoulder with the glove out towards first base dugout, which pulls that other shoulder through. All right, so we can see how your glove is going out and around to get your shoulders to come out and around, versus shoulders square, gloves there, and now it's just the upper half able to get out in front. Out in front. Versus around. And look at that head. Everything's going around. All right, pull up someone that's younger than you, smaller than you, but is able to find that strength and explosiveness in that lower body. And let's watch lower body work. Watch that back leg driving and rotating. Driving and rotating, so that when he gets to front foot strike, boom, foot's in the ground, backside's fully fired. So the hips are fully fired. So we look at this one. We look at this one at front foot strike. Boom. Boom. Gloves about 75% of the way finished. 75% of the way finished. Arms ready to throw. Lower body's fired. So that way it's just the upper body getting out in front. Upper body getting out in front. Versus you getting here, and now everything's got to spin out towards first base. And now we're peeling as we throw. Peeling as we throw only because the lower body did not supply the power that the upper body needs to throw. So the upper body needs to try to create more power than it has the ability to. And when you try to create more power with the upper body than you have the ability to, it turns into a peel and a spin instead of a accelerate out in front. So just got to work on that back leg driving. We get a big leaguer for you to see exactly what that looks like. We'll just use the easiest guy to see that with, and that would be Chapman. All right. We get him to the top of his leg lift. And we can see how he's got that momentum going towards the plate, just like you have momentum going to the plate. Okay, but now let's watch what Chapman's doing here. All right, so we get you to the same spot as him. All right, let's look at some differences here. All right, back knee, a little bit more back, a little bit more back needs to be. Front side staying closed more, but everything else is pretty much the same. So now let's watch how your lower body works, getting into foot strike, boom, versus Chapman's back leg, getting him into foot strike. So watch how much those knees, feet, and hips rotate here. Getting into foot strike. So now that he's gotten the lower body, now everything can go out in front. Nothing needs to spin to the side. Just goes straight out in front and then all the way through. Okay. So he's got to start using his back leg to drive and rotate. Drive and rotate with that knee. And then get that foot. Look at the back foot. Drive and rotate it. Drive, rotate. Drive, rotate. All of that is occurring before that front foot hits the ground. Boom, he's in the ground. Belt's fired. Everything's turned over. Versus this. So now you have to peel to throw versus accelerating out in front to throw. So he's got to get more active with that backside earlier than you are. Start creating power and drive with it.